very good evening and welcome to the Trading Bell. We are in Thika Cupwell Industry to speak to Rajan Shah, the chair of the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, as well as the CEO of Cupwell Industry. Most likely, you're having a meal courtesy of this industry. Come with me. Rajan Shah, welcome to the Trading Bell.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here, and it's quite a good sort of environment away from the Nairobi, but I noticed it's also colder
Yes.
more than Nairobi where I just came from. And maybe to just kick-start this conversation is to congratulate you first of all for being appointed the Kenya Association of Manufacturers chair. I am sure Kenyans may really want to know who is Rajan and all that. But first, what is the current state of manufacturing as you're picking these helms, and are we where we should be? Are we seeing some expectations from your end? What would we have from your end?
Thanks, Maina. And first of all, thank you for having me on this show.
Absolutely.
And thank you for the congratulatory message.
Yeah.
I think it's a privilege and an honor to be able to be given this role for this esteemed institution of Kenya Association of Manufacturers to serve our members and to drive the manufacturing agenda. And I hope I will. I'm very committed to put my energies and make this work for the manufacturers.
Sure.
In terms of where we are, the space where we are, in a nutshell, we are not in a good space. Just to give you some numbers, in 2013 we were at 13% of GDP manufacturing, 12.5%.
Okay.
Right now we're at 7.6%. So as a percentage, our desire was to reach up to 15% and beyond, but we have actually declined. In absolute terms, we have grown, but other sectors of the economy have grown faster. And this is something that we feel that we need to catch up on.
You're right.
And I think the ambition of reaching up to 15%, as much as the gap is much wider now, I think it's still doable and achievable.
When I looked through some of the promises we had, we just from the election period, and I know you had a lot of promises from both divides and all that. But before we get to what you promised and what you spoke about them and the manifestos, Kenyans really know that manufacturing at this time is what is the backbone of this nation. And as you're saying, really there's a sense of a decline from the percentages you've given. Then that means there's a serious work on your end and a sense of focus. And maybe you could endear to us, what's your vision as you're taking the helms of this, and what are your areas of focus that you want to really look at?
So I'll start with something I experienced just a couple of months ago. We were invited through the Japanese government to go and visit some manufacturing factories in Thailand, set up by Japanese companies. So we started our travel from Bangkok to this particular factory, and it was a 2-hour ride. And what I observed as I was traveling on the bus, on either side of the highway, and this was like a super highway, there was just industries after industries. What we could see on the landscape was just industries on both sides, hardly any space left for any other activities. My vision is that one day we can have a similar situation here, from Nairobi to Eldoret, Nairobi to Kisumu, Nairobi to Mombasa. How can we have industries on both sides?
Absolutely.
But that's a very long-term vision. It's a dream, but I'm sure it's possible.
Very true.
But let's look at what does this look like from a Kenyan perspective. And I'm going to probably share a few value chains to kind of put a perspective to what's possible.
Go ahead.
Let's look at tea. Right now, we grow the tea. We convert that into black tea, from green to black tea. And then 97% of that is exported out in the raw form. Only 3% is value added. Sri Lanka does 60% as value add here. By value add, I mean it packages ready for the shelf or in whichever country is exported to. It's our desire that we can bring 60% of the value addition of our tea in our own home country.
Wow.
So that At the moment, we probably earn $2.50 per kg. If we do the value add, we can earn up to $7. So you can see how much money we are leaving behind in the process.
Absolutely.
Give another example, again in the agricultural space. We grow a lot of avocados. Yes, we export a lot of fresh avocados.
Yeah, we're currently leading in Africa.
And it's a very growing sector.
Yeah.
But avocados also other value add benefits.
Okay.
People extract oil out of it, and there are many oil extracting companies just around Thika as well.
Yeah.
But we actually export that as raw avocado oil for the cosmetic industry, for the food industry. How can we do the further value addition of that oil into refined form?
Absolutely.
So in terms of our focus, I mean, there are 3 areas of focus as CAM. One is global competitiveness. We need to be globally competitive. We no longer talk about regional competitiveness or domestic competitiveness. The reason I say so is that we are in a global village where we get a lot of imported goods coming from all over the world.
All over, yes.
How can we compete against those imported goods?
Certainly.
Secondly, we want to export, and that's our second agenda, export-led growth.
Yeah.
So competitiveness, it touches on the cost of doing business, the ease of doing business, how our regulatory environment becomes more business-friendly so that it eases the cost and does not increase the cost.
Yeah.
How do we have a predictable tax and policies and the tax environment so that we do not get hammered with extra cost of taxation, which makes us uncompetitive.
Okay.
So that's one,
Yeah.
export-led growth. I think this is something which will have no option but to kind of pursue. We have a limited domestic market. We have 55 million people. We have a market. But if industries need to scale, if industries need to create demand and need to have a bigger market, they need to look beyond the domestic market into the regional market, into the African market through the Africa Continental Free Trade. We need to also explore how we can add more through some of the other trade agreements we have, like the AGOA, the EPA, and many other bilateral agreements that we are actually negotiating and signing. So we are having market access, including the EU itself. With now the DRC opened up, we have so much of access to markets and potential. How do we leverage and convert those into export-led growth? And that's where global competitiveness also plays a role.
Certainly.
If we are globally competitive, our goods will be of the standard and at a cost where it will be affordable in these export markets as well. And we'll be able to compete with the likes of China, India, or the European and the American markets as well.
Absolutely.
Thirdly, the other area of focus is linkage between agriculture and industry. What I would sometimes call as industrialized agriculture.
Yeah.
I say so because at the moment, when we look at agriculture as a silo, this is where some of our problems start.
Yeah.
Farmers grow based on what they know they need to grow.
Yeah.
Yet industry needs a certain different quality at a different cost and a different price. The moment we can link the two and say that what agriculture does is based on what is the need of industry, then all of a sudden there's a market, there's an off-taker for that produce, there's a certainty, and the farmer also knows with a clear certainty before they put their first seed on the ground that they know the price at which it's going to be bought and the quantity that it's going to be off-take. So this is something I think which is very important, and we need to kind of make sure that that linkage to effectively call industrialized agriculture becomes a focus area.
That's very well articulated. And before we take a break, let me ask you, the last 2 years have been very challenging, especially for manufacturers. I mean, people were just reeling from the effects of COVID. There are more challenges. The war in Ukraine affected many of the manufacturers as well. Here, the cost of living has gone high. And one of the key questions a lot of manufacturers and even the consumers would want to know is, when you look at the supply chains and all, what is your view on how some of these challenges could be addressed?
The COVID, I think, is an event of once in a generation.
You're right.
But I think it has, together with that, brought some opportunities as well. I would probably want to convert those challenges into opportunities. And this is why I say so.
Yeah.
Of course, during COVID, it exposed a lot of weaknesses around supply chains, around how we were not able to move goods from one part of the world to another part of the world. But it brought an opportunity as well for manufacturers here to actually look at how to kind of change their and look at their supply chains, how to do more near shoring, how to increase the inventories. Of course, there's a cost for that. How to kind of regionalize their supply chains, how to look at alternative supplies. So these are all areas which opened up as opportunities as well for manufacturers.
Okay.
Over and above that, I believe that we have also been driven by innovation. It forced us to innovate. It forced us to, I mean, in our manufacturing sector, we have 3 manufacturers who started producing ventilators because there was a need. As they say, mother is the necessity of invention. So it brought in innovation at the forefront. Second, the other area where I think we have opened up or realized is efficiencies in working. With virtual working, the way it has made us realize that there are other ways of being able to work. We are now dealing with a very different workforce, the millennials and the Gen Zs, and that workforce sees from a very different lens.
Absolutely.
I think this COVID also brought how, as our baby boomers, how we need to kind of be able to speak to that workforce and find them to find it attractive to work in manufacturing.
You're right.
So all these are, I would call, the challenges which have now converted into opportunities.
Absolutely.
And people have repurposed their plants. People started doing things like making masks, which were never being produced with the same equipment. These innovations, I think, is an opportunity.
Let's dive into another section where we want to talk about, realizing the benefits of sustainable manufacturing. It's the current conversations. Even corporates are now looking at matters, ESGs and all. How will you promote this as the lead now, especially to local manufacturers? And what is Kenya Association of Manufacturers doing to support industry embedding sustainability in their operations?
Thanks, Maina. And this is a very relevant question. I think sustainable manufacturing is no longer an option. It is a mandatory kind of requirement. And sustainable manufacturing should not be seen as a cost. It actually should be seen as an enabler in any organization towards their goal of whether they want to improve their bottom lines, improve their efficiencies. So it actually becomes an enabler. If we look at globally, and we look at what are some of the current scenarios around the world, we see droughts, we see flooding. All this climate change is creating an existential threat to our race.
You're right.
So this conversation of how to kind of play a more significant role in sustainable activities, and in our case sustainable manufacturing, is now become an absolute necessity. From our manufacturing and industry point of view, we have already been doing some of these things over the past few years. Let me give you a few examples around climate change and the use of the limited resources we have. Energy is one of the major component of production, factor of production. And as you know, Kenya probably is ahead of the game globally in terms of renewable energy. More than 90% of our energy is renewable. But more than that, as manufacturers now, we are also looking at how to kind of rely on green energy. So through the Center for Green Growth and Climate Change at CAM, we have been promoting on how we encourage many of our members to adopt some of this green energy. Solar energy is one of the major areas of focus. Over and above, from a cost point of view, it is actually becoming more competitive and we ourselves have installed solar energy here, which at least takes care of 30% of our energy consumption. The same is we are seeing is being adopted across many of the industries.
Actually, that's quite a number. We can actually see a whole conversation coming out of this. Sure. And I've seen even what you've done with the Energy Management Awards and all that. Let's now dive in, because this show is courtesy as well of the Nairobi Securities Exchange. And there are opportunities there that we believe that manufacturers, upcoming manufacturers, can tap into that. And my quick question would be this: knowing very well that this is a valuable source of long-term capital for listed companies, what would you like to tell your fellow manufacturers and even the upcoming ones looking up to sign up maybe at the exchange?
The first thing I would say, it's a very noble aspiration for manufacturers to look up to being listed. In any industrialized country in the world, the main source, the primary, in a capitalist society, the primary source of capital has always been the equity markets.
Sure.
And where efficient capital markets work, it becomes probably the most, I would say, cost-effective source of capital. Unfortunately for manufacturers, we have not seen a lot of adoption of more and more manufacturers coming in to the space and being listed. And one of the reasons is scalability, right? We have manufacturers here who are very confined to probably also looking at their domestic markets. And this is where the whole export-led growth, if manufacturers can be able to scale, can able to increase their demand, and as a result of that, they need more capital to invest into plant equipment and facilities, then the need will even become more urgent for them to raise this capital. And for sure, the stock exchange will be one source of that capital, over and above the debt and other private equity capitals, which are also playing a role in this market.
Great.
And on the other side, I would encourage our manufacturers to more look at going into the public, because it gives opportunity for the wananchi to have a share of the pie. And I think that's very important. And if our wananchi here have a share of that economic activity by the manufacturers, they feel part of it, and actually manufacturing then will become even more an important pillar of our economic growth.
So let me, I've just gone around and I've seen you are very close to everybody. And why I'm saying that is because the unga I take in my house, and certainly I'm happy I'm here. Some rice that I've seen around, and many other commodities, is especially what people are consuming at home. So definitely you have felt the pinch as a manufacturer on anything that has affected your fellow manufacturers as well. And so my question to you is this: we have seen prices fluctuate, sometimes promises happen, meetings here and there and the likes. And my question to you, what does this mean to you as a producer, and what are you seeing in the near future, especially for consumers who would be saying, the unga I take comes from Capwell?
Yes. So the first pinch, or I would say the pain I feel, is for the consumer.
You're right.
And because if you look at maize flour prices, they've literally actually doubled, or more than doubled.
They've gone
in the last 1 year, and this is the basic staple. So I really feel the pain of the consumer, and it, as a manufacturer, it doesn't benefit us from this kind of price escalations. If anything, our market starts shrinking, because we are still fighting with the same share of the wallet.
You're right.
With all the other products, consumable products. So for us, it's never beneficial for prices to be going up and at such a high pace. So just again touching on maybe unga as a example, we need to find a balance between supply and the demand, and strike that balance. Of course, we just came through a flour subsidy program, a very short one.
Very short.
Did it benefit the wananchi? I would say maybe not, because it didn't probably reach to the most needy people in the society. So we should move away from all this kind of subsidy. They're too expensive for government as well. All the subsidy programs. Where we need to find is we go back to agriculture. For us to be able to place unga on the shelf at 100 shillings a packet, and I'm using 100. I mean, maybe
which is the most common one.
It's being used, but it doesn't necessarily have to be 100. It could be 120, 130.
Yeah.
But What does it take for me? It's simple. If the raw material, the maize, comes at a certain price, there's a very transparent conversion of that, and the whole process is very transparent.
You're right.
So it again goes back to our agriculture, and this is where the pain point is.
Yeah.
And this is also something when I was looking at the manifestos of the presidential candidates talking about productivity.
Yeah.
How do we improve productivity?
You're
and
right.
that again is something which is sitting under our under the global competitiveness. It's one of the things at CAM.
Yeah.
How do we improve productivity?
Yeah.
Productivity at factory level, productivity at farm level.
Yeah.
If we can nail that productivity and efficiency, I think then the
Everything
cost
else.
of living will actually automatically get addressed.
You're right. You've just touched on my final question, which is actually about the manifestos, because I know I noticed the association met all the presidential candidates. Now we have the president, and you also presented your manifesto to them. What are we looking at? Should we be very hopeful of certain things that you presented? I don't even know what you present. Maybe there's some nice elements you could mention.
Yes, okay. Now that we know that the new government, which is coming under Kenya Kwanza, and I'll probably more refer to their manifesto as well. I mean, and looking at our industrial manifesto, I can see there's already so much of alignment as manufacturing and what we could see in the manifesto. Again, going back to from a manufacturing point of view, looking at the value chains that we need to start looking at and looking at it as an integrated value chain, all the way from farm to fork or farm to fashion. And these are some of the things that even the Kenya Kwanza manifesto is talking about. We need to find where the pain points, the frictions along this whole integrated value chains. Deliberately look at what are the near-term things that we can fix, what are the medium terms we can fix, but look at it holistically. Value chain by value chain, and this will actually be the way. We cannot work in silos, and we cannot have the right hand saying something different from the left hand, so that whilst we want an industrial policy which is more conducive for manufacturing, then you have the tax policy which is working in a very different direction. Those are the kind of things that we need to kind of fix immediately, so that we work with one common goal.
Wow, great. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you, Banamaina.
Okay.
And most welcome to come again. Hopefully next time we'll have more products. And hopefully I should be able to tell you that now we are exporting more into the region.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's my ambition, that as Kenyans now we should be doing a lot more exports.
I can't wait. But I'm going with my unga, right?
Yes, you will, for sure.
There you have it. That's it on the Trading Bell Show. Live right here on Fika. I've shown you the products. Probably you're eating that right now as we speak. Either a chapati, some ugali or something else. You never know where it came from. So that was it. Such a beautiful episode. Thank you so much for your time. Give us your feedback on the social media handles appearing at the bottom of your screen. Thank you so much. My name is Maina Shege. This has been the Trading Bell. Bye-bye.